I work the night shift, and my wife works the day shift. Her workplace mostly has male colleagues, so she spends more time with them. But there are also women in auxiliary roles, like in the office or the spare parts department. We've been together since we were 17, and now we're in our 40s with children. I won't go into the details of our family life. It's worth noting that she recently started working in this field, so workplace relationships have become a new thing. She's been spending more time with her female colleagues after work, not just occasionally. She finishes work around 5 but comes home at 7 or 8. A couple of times, she even stayed overnight at their place after drinking, which surprises me because she's usually responsible and doesn't drink in public places. But for now, I'm not too worried. I was at home last night, not working, and went to bed at my usual time. At 3 a.m., her phone screen's glow woke me up. I couldn't tell if she was texting or browsing the internet, and she didn't seem to hide it from me, so probably nothing suspicious. However, she got up and started getting ready for work, even though her shift doesn't start until 8 o'clock. I asked her about it, and she agreed, but said she was going for a walk with her colleagues. She's a diesel engine repair mechanic, and looked more dressed up than I'd expect for a walk or a regular work day. She left around 4 o'clock, probably reaching her friend's place by 4:30. It was still dark, drizzling, and about 45 degrees outside, which doesn't seem like good conditions for a walk, especially in Arizona where raincoats aren't common. Also, she drives a truck and I drive a car. At 5 o'clock, I texted her about using the truck for a dump run, but she didn't respond. So I called her 15 minutes later, and she said they were still on the walk. She asked me to pick up the truck at her workplace. If it weren't raining, I might have considered checking if her hair was wet after a second shower. I tend to overanalyze things due to my unique way of thinking, and sometimes I have trouble reading social cues. So, I'm wondering if I'm overthinking this. I decided to confront her and ask to see her phone. She tried to divert my attention and demanded to see my phone, which I gave her along with the password. I had nothing to hide since I hardly have any personal time, let alone meet others. However, when I checked her active messages, nothing was deleted. But when I tried to find a specific conversation that had caught my attention earlier, it had oddly disappeared. Feeling suspicious, I called the person who had raised my fears, hoping to see his name. I handed her the phone and told her I wanted to see their text conversation. She acted innocent, but I pointed out that she messaged him before leaving home and after returning, even when she claimed to be in Vegas. Instead of explaining, she acted confused, as if she didn't understand why the telephone operator had stored their messages. Disappointed, she went upstairs and refused to talk further. Feeling hurt and betrayed, I decided to pack up and leave. I informed her of my intentions and left after packing my things. Now, let me share what I learned from the police investigator about the confrontation. Firstly, he emphasized that for minor offenses, the guilty party rarely fully admits. Even if they confess in one instance, they often withhold important details. So it's unrealistic to expect a complete admission, especially in cases of ongoing infidelity. When you find yourself in such a situation, it's a major breach of trust, and you might need to consider legal action or making a significant decision. You're essentially looking for more information to use later. He also advises starting a confrontation by suggesting you have more information than they think and encouraging them to talk. The truth is the only valuable thing in this situation, so don't reveal the extent of your knowledge. Treat it like a high-stakes poker game and don't show your hand. He also noted that despite searching her phone, don't expect to find anything. It's likely well hidden or already deleted unless they lack intelligence. Perpetrators tend to conceal evidence, anticipating a confrontation. Your job is to establish the absence of text messages and call logs. To provide evidence, it's crucial to obtain records of text messages and calls from your telecom operator and check for gaps in dates and times. Lack of communication with a specific person suggests they were together. In these moments, make them believe you have the information while concealing its limitations. Obtaining direct evidence of their wrongdoing is often challenging. During a confrontation, demand access to their phone. They will likely resist and demand to see your phone, making similar accusations. Be prepared for them to stare at you. Your wife reacted the same way when I asked. She claimed not to know my password and insisted I reveal it. Remember that the guilty parties fear being discovered and are more concerned about what you might find on their phone than what they might find on yours. Pay attention to their willingness to disclose information relevant to you. In my case, my wife showed very little interest. She barely looked at the messages and didn't even check the photo gallery where questionable content is usually found. Instead, she was more focused on the phone in my hand as I casually scrolled through a list of harmless text conversations. She even said, "See, I don't know what you think I'm up to." To continue my investigation, I opened the phone app, entered the suspect's number, and tapped on the SMS icon. To my surprise, there were no messages. I went back to the contact and showed it to her, asking about the missing messages. She replied that they never communicated. I disagreed and informed her that in just the past month, she had exchanged over 900 messages with him. I pressed her to reveal where those messages had gone. Initially, she pretended to be innocent, but deep down, she likely knew that the number I provided was accurate. Reluctantly, she admitted she had deleted them, but didn't disclose the whole truth. It turned out those messages were about her wanting a divorce, which she wasn't ready to tell me yet. I didn't give away too many details, like how far my suspicions had gone. Instead, I provided enough information to instill confidence and make it clear that I had full knowledge of the situation. Knowing the exact number of texts was important, as it served as solid evidence, reinforcing the message that I wasn't bluffing when I claimed to know something. This behavior is a typical sign of guilt. When someone is caught in a tough spot, they often try to dodge and use various tactics to avoid responsibility. To deflect blame, they often offer explanations about their whereabouts. However, it's crucial to closely scrutinize the information they provide. If their explanations are vague and seem forced, it's important to persistently seek more details. Many false explanations are created with little planning and can easily fall apart with further investigation. While they may provide some information about going to a bar with friends, it will likely lack specific details, such as a heated argument or who won a game of darts. Innocent spouses typically willingly share details of a pleasant evening with friends. Guilty ones, on the other hand, wonder why you're so interested in their activities. Remember, they're anticipating a confrontation and are already thinking about how an innocent person would act in this situation, crafting a plausible version. This idea applies even to drawing attention to themselves. When our oldest daughter had a conflict with my wife, she later told me, she had two reasons for this. First, she wanted to steer the conversation in the right direction in case our daughter turned to me. Secondly, culprits often think that by putting themselves at the center of attention, the focus will eventually fade. Looking back, I realized I made a mistake by not asking why our daughter came to that conclusion. I should have asked her to clarify what she said that led to that conclusion. Looking back, I should have taken the initiative and called my daughter myself. It's worth considering how an innocent spouse would respond when accused by someone else. They would likely be happy to provide unsolicited detailed explanations because they have a clear conscience. Now, let's think about how an innocent person would behave. They might be annoyed by a request to see their phone since they still expect some privacy, but in the end, they would hand over the phone without much resistance. In all likelihood, they'd be genuinely puzzled at first. Honest individuals don't try to mislead or deceive others. It's also important to note that the most convincing lies often contain elements of truth. In my wife's case, she claimed to have spent time alone in a tattoo parlor getting sketches. However, when she returned home, she didn't bring any sketches or take pictures of them. Moreover, she said very little about the experience and only showed me some design ideas from the internet. She said the appointment was at 1 p.m., but she left our house at 11:30 a.m., so it only took her 45 minutes to get to the tattoo parlor. When she got back home, it was around 6 p.m. While I believe she did visit the tattoo parlor that day, I suspect she may have visited his house beforehand. Maybe they did something together, and buying a ticket for a future visit could serve as a potential alibi. They might have had lunch and deep conversations about moral theology at his place before returning home. This is when I decided to sort out the situation. So it's important to note that a simple alibi doesn't always explain every detail. She mentioned difficult traffic, but didn't provide any specific details, like a blue Honda overturning. She also mentioned going to Home Depot to look for lifting belt rings, but returned empty-handed, indicating an unsuccessful trip. There are other details he taught me, but I can't recall them all now. I'll report them as soon as I can. She continues to maintain a relationship with him, and it seems unlikely that things will work out between us. I've come to terms with the fact that my anger issues played a significant role in her distancing herself, but I'm actively working on improving myself and have made progress. Although she never admitted to cheating, I'm ready to forgive considering my part in this situation. She said our relationship has no hope, but she offered cohabitation for the sake of our children. I have concerns about the terms of cohabitation, as it appears to be a compromise driven by her hidden fears. In response, I offered her a divorce, if that's what she really wants. However, since she hasn't mentioned it, I take it as a clear sign that she doesn't want a divorce. There's a possibility she's starting to soften her stance. As evidence, we recently went out for dinner with the kids, and she was friendly. We even had a pleasant conversation, and she maintained eye contact. At that time, I genuinely thought that the walls around her heart were starting to thaw. But things took a different turn on the way back home. She made a subtle comment, seemingly to remind herself that she no longer loves me. People often say it's easy to walk away from a cheater, but when you share children, the pain of betrayal runs deep. The life I knew was closely tied to our shared existence. Those who believe I'm showing weakness can see themselves as victorious. However, this morning, I woke up to find her gone. I know where she is, even without knowing where he is. I know his address. I took some photos of her truck in his garage earlier, although I'm not quite sure why I felt the need to do that. Maybe it was to understand her emotional state. When I arrived at their place, I initially spotted only his car in the driveway. To my surprise, her car was nearby. Unaware of my presence, she texted me, asking if we needed any household supplies like garbage bags. I replied that we were out of groceries, and using the opportunity, I asked if she could buy cream for me. While pretending to be confident about her location, I didn't react at first. Soon, I noticed him driving his car out of the driveway, and her car was parked in reverse. It was clear they left together. I walked up to the door, intending to ring the bell, but got no response. In an attempt to initiate a conversation, I messaged her, asking if she had received the mentioned letter. She said she hadn't seen it, and I shared its contents with her. After that, she expressed willingness to discuss the matter. Later, when she texted me that she was at Costco, I immediately replied that I knew she wasn't there. About 45 minutes later, I received a message with a photo of a familiar Costco building. It was evident she had just arrived and was creating a story. Choosing not to give in to persuasion, I asked her to send a photo of her truck if she wanted me to believe her. She calmly replied that she honestly didn't care about convincing me. At that moment, I had to acknowledge her good intentions. She might have been trying to shield me from more emotional pain. Perhaps she even feared my reaction, which made me feel regretful. However, the constant lies were causing more distress than the unfiltered truth. In an effort to confirm her words, she sent me a photo of herself inside a Costco store. Despite receiving this evidence, I chose not to respond, allowing the weight of her deception to linger in silence. I'm in a state of deep internal turmoil, contemplating those moments when, in fits of anger, I contemplated leaving her and our children. Though I'm determined not to repeat such behavior, I admit that I'm now at a point where I'm ready to explore a new path to extricate myself from this situation. Yesterday, I had a consultation with an attorney, and we discussed the current situation. Following my therapist's advice, I made a deliberate choice not to rush into decisions while my emotions are still running high. Instead, I opted to wait and carefully consider the available options. Currently, my soon-to-be ex-wife and I continue to live together for the sake of our children. It's not an easy arrangement, as I often feel financially burdened supporting the household while she's involved with another man. Adding to the complexity, she maintains a separate group chat with our kids, using it to share false information, like going out drinking with someone named Maria at 4 a.m. I realized she'd have to go to work soon, with just a few hours before her shift starts. Given that bars are typically closed at this time, it became evident that her recent claims of going out for drinks were mere fiction. I'm even more concerned about how these lies affect our youngest child, who, as it turns out, has autism. With a high level of functioning, He tends to look up information about the opening hours of various establishments, like bars or gyms. They're starting to catch her in a web of deceit. If she can continue deceiving me without consequences, the repercussions of her dishonesty now extend to our children. But after a few quiet nights, I've reached a point where her actions no longer keep me awake at night. I've already consulted with a lawyer who informed me that with shared custody, the alimony I'll have to pay amounts to only $42 a month. My wife doesn't want to sell our family home, and it's evident that she can't buy it from me or acquire it on her own. However, according to my lawyer, if I decide to sell the house, then it will indeed be sold. This realization puts me in a somewhat challenging position. I have considerably more savings than she does, which puts my property at risk of being divided equally. Nevertheless, there are some investments and shares in the company that haven't fully matured yet. The lawyer assures me that these assets can be protected because there's still some ambiguity surrounding them. Furthermore, the lawyer suggested I could safeguard all my assets by using the house as leverage in negotiations. If I decide to contribute only half of the house payments until our children reach adulthood in 5 years, I can negotiate an equal share of future assets. By using this as a trump card, I can preserve my savings. So the situation has effectively turned into a real estate transaction. On a personal level, I have to admit that I succumbed to the stress of sleep deprivation and overwhelming grief, which led me to attempt reconciliation with an unfaithful wife. I began begging her desperately, as a person lacking self-respect. About 2 weeks ago, I reached a breaking point and had to leave work early because I couldn't concentrate properly. At that moment, I hoped her car would still be parked outside the house, and that maybe a spark of affection for me would rekindle in her heart. Looking back, I now understand how crucial it is in such circumstances never to let myself appear as a fool. I tried to initiate a conversation with her, but my efforts were futile, and I couldn't help but feel pitiful. It seemed my pleas went unanswered. Sunday came and went, and I had no particular place to be. I informed her that I wouldn't be home until the workday started, giving her the opportunity to be with the kids while I was away. After buying pizza for the kids, she left again. Feeling lost and unsure of what to do, I sat in the car, browsing various internet forums and getting distracted by other things. For reasons I can't entirely explain, I ended up downloading Tinder and setting up a profile. My initial intention wasn't to seek a chance encounter, so I mindlessly swiped left on all the profiles that caught my eye. However, I did strike up a conversation with one girl, though it didn't really pique my interest. The next morning after work, I stumbled upon another profile and, despite my uncertainty, impulsively swiped right. To my surprise, we hit it off right away, and she greeted me with a message, "Hello, handsome." It was incredibly heartening to receive such kind words at a time when I really needed them. We started chatting, and things flowed smoothly. We even had a couple of drinks together. Surprisingly, Tuesday night turned into a date. Considering the possibility that this relationship could develop into something more, I felt the need to honestly share my current situation. Starting any potential relationship on honesty is important to me. Interestingly, she had also experienced infidelity and had been divorced for some time, but expressed a desire to start dating again. When the evening came to a close, I walked her to her car, and we shared a kiss. It's important to note that my wife has already initiated the divorce process, so legally, we're no longer bound. To be honest, the thought of this woman and the possibility of finding hope again brought me reassurance, finally allowing me to sleep peacefully. Perhaps, in His infinite mercy, God decided to send someone to show that I am deserving of appreciation. This experience rekindled my hope for the future, and even if this connection doesn't turn into something deeper, I'm grateful for the momentary happiness she brought me. I'm well aware that everything is moving swiftly, but it's essential to recognize that my marriage has been unstable for many years. The idea of divorce has crossed my mind more than once, but I've never taken immediate action. I must admit that I didn't take active steps to salvage the marriage. The affair with her was the final straw that led to our split. Looking back, we can possibly say it was necessary since neither of us was truly happy, but neither had the courage to initiate the breakup. Reflecting on this situation, I can't help but wonder if I would have given in to the temptation of infidelity had I been put to the test. The fear of being potentially unfaithful has always kept me at a distance from other women. Unfortunately, those joyful memories my wife and I once shared now seem distant and faded, much like the memories of a terminally ill person. Passing away is a profound event that brings immediate grief when it occurs. However, I believe that in such circumstances, the awareness of the inevitability of end arrives more swiftly, primarily due to the recognition of its inescapability. Today, I took a significant step. I made an advance payment, officially commencing the divorce process. As a result, our cohabitation will likely end soon. My son and I decided to become neighbors and find a new place to live together. Currently, he doesn't communicate with his mother. Due to her infidelity, I plan to sell the house and claim my rightful share of the assets. Even though she's against it, her problem is that she can't afford the mortgage payments and won't receive enough funds from the divorce settlement to buy me out. The costs associated with initiating divorce proceedings came to $2,500. Despite the initial pain, the payoff is worth it. Day trading isn't just a hobby for me, it's a skill I excel in. With increasing profits, I anticipate taking part in larger deals. Furthermore, I've long desired to own a 1979 Fiat Spider convertible, a dream I could never justify as a responsible married man. However, circumstances have changed, and I'm no longer bound by such restrictions, so when things settle down, I'll finally get behind the wheel of the car I've longed for. I hope that by the time I purchase it, a custom license plate, as I discussed with my lawyer, will be affixed, echoing the words of the song, "Damn, It's Good to Be a Gangster." I can't help but wonder if she'll explode with anger when she receives a summons and realizes I'm determined to sell the house. The irony is that we'll both leave with enough money to start fresh in our own homes. She might even move in with her loved ones, and I'll go about my business. My wife, who cheated on me, is now returning her truck to the bank and trying to strike up casual conversations with me via text messages. However, I've managed to maintain a neutral and unresponsive attitude toward her, often choosing to ignore her messages. She recently messaged me about evaporative coolers at Home Depot. It reminded me of our unsuccessful attempt to buy one during a winter sale. She also inquired about when I'd return home, mentioned that we'd be living in separate rooms, and even wished me a good time at the water park tomorrow. It was a trip I'd planned to take with the kids. By the way, fellow dads, water parks seem to be a gathering spot for single moms after a divorce. Today, my ex-wife sent me an SMS saying that she'll be renting her truck, for which she'll need to pay $730 a month. Consequently, our eldest child will no longer have access to a dependable car with a mileage of 220,000 miles. I must admit that the fact that she's facing the consequences of her actions brings some satisfaction. Furthermore, I had a lengthy conversation with my sister who shared information about the man my wife is currently involved with. I discovered that the man my wife is dating has 4 previous failed marriages. According to my sister, he has a pattern of forming attachments to women, depleting their finances, and then disappearing from their lives. Though it seems unlikely, my sister passed this information along to me. In response, I told her that if this is indeed the case, I hope he defeats my wife quickly so we can complete our divorce process. I also mentioned that I hope their relationship continues until I finish the necessary legal paperwork and extricate myself from this situation. On a related note, I recently had a conversation with my wife about this topic. She informed me of her plans to return the truck as part of her intention to refinance the house. Due to financial difficulties, she can't manage to make a cash payment to settle the truck and handle the new loan amount simultaneously. Interestingly, this aligns with my own plan, which involved moving out of our shared house. She was aware that I was searching for a new residence and had no intention of staying in a house where she was freely engaging in an extramarital affair. I informed her that I intended to transfer ownership of the house to her, but I demanded a buyout. I have various liquid assets that she has to relinquish in order to obtain my share. Despite the substantial sum, it still falls short of my required amount. The potential cost of a swift departure still seems minor. I aim to settle this matter while she remains cooperative. Experience has shown that with time and increasing physical separation, people tend to undervalue the importance of an equitable division. Even though she expressed dissatisfaction about not receiving a portion of the liquid assets, I assured her that she would have full ownership of the house and could do with it as she saw fit, whether that meant keeping it until our children grow up or inviting her boyfriend to live there. The decision is hers to make. Nevertheless, I remain cautious and watchful. Tomorrow marks an important moment for me. I'm purchasing a new home and getting the necessary legal documents drawn up by my lawyer. Those who have been known my life routine know that my ex-wife, with whom I've spent 19 years, decided to have an affair, which I discovered back in March. Initially, I attempted a futile and desperate choose-me dance to salvage the relationship, but after consulting with a psychologist, I realized that my life would ultimately improve without her presence. As a result, I found a rented house conveniently located within walking distance of our current home, allowing our children the freedom to come and go as they please. To simplify my schedule and ensure easy pickup and drop-off of the children from school, I decided to switch work shifts. The move is set to happen tomorrow, as I've already received the keys to our new home. In addition, I've arranged for the utilities to be connected. Fortunately, I'm financially stable and can afford this new venture. I should mention that I have an appointment with a lawyer to process the divorce documents. My future ex-wife and I reached an agreement via email, and the lawyer will use this agreement as a template for the legal documents. If all goes well, we'll be able to sign everything during the meeting and then patiently wait for the required waiting period. If things progress smoothly, I expect to receive a divorce decree sometime in late June or early July. It may not be as much as I'd like, but I believe my mental well-being is worth it. Regarding my job, I still have a few restricted shares, the rights to which will vest in the future. Fortunately, our agreement states that my future ex-wife waives any claim to these shares if I choose to stay in my current position. These shares can be quite valuable. Given the ongoing support I receive from the company, including 30 days of leave and short-term disability benefits, I see no reason to leave. All this experience has solidified my loyalty to the employer. Thankfully, my future ex-wife has a well-paying job that surpasses the poverty line, which means I won't be obligated to pay spousal support. Additionally, with equal custody rights and my coverage of the children's medical, dental, and vision insurance costs, my alimony obligations amount to only $42 per month for less than 60 months. We are currently discussing the possibility of waiving this commitment. Looking ahead, I can say that in 5 years, once the children have grown up, I'll have accumulated enough savings to retire abroad at the age of 47 instead of working in the USA until I'm 70. Feeling trapped in my marriage, I realized that I was squandering money on extravagant houses and unnecessary material possessions that held little true value for me. In a way, living on the other side of the world from my future ex-wife has presented an unexpected advantage. While my heart may be broken at the end of this relationship, I don't want it to define me or rob me of the ability to love. I believe there's a special person out there to whom I'll eventually entrust my heart, even if it means becoming vulnerable again. Love and hope are incredibly powerful forces that should never fade, even in the face of betrayal by a cheating spouse. In such times, I find comfort in a quote I'd like to share with you. However, we do not look back for a long time. We continue to move forward, opening new doors and embracing new experiences. Our curiosity propels us onto uncharted paths. This serves as a reminder not to dwell on the past for too long, but to focus on moving forward, discovering new opportunities, and embracing the unknown. Curiosity becomes our guiding light, leading us to fresh and exciting journeys in life. Having made the decision to start anew, I'm taking steps to fulfill my wish list, and in a few hours, I'll embark on a journey abroad. Since July is dedicated to self-discovery, I've planned a trip to Thailand. As I navigate the waters of singledom again, it's crucial for me to reconnect with forgotten aspects of myself. At this stage, I'm actively seeking new experiences and adding them to my ever-expanding list. When my soon-to-be ex-wife sends me a message, I respond at my own pace, sometimes taking several days while the divorce proceedings continue. I prioritize my own well-being and ensure the process is moving forward. Financial matters and property division have been successfully resolved. leaving only custody and alimony matters. My lawyer advised against accepting my future ex-wife's unreasonable proposal, which is unlikely to be approved by any judge. Instead, we made our own proposal. In my proposal, I emphasize that our children are now at an age where they can express their preferences regarding custody arrangements. I've also secured a residence within walking distance of my future ex-wife's home to make it convenient for the children to visit. It's worth noting that after I moved, she wasted no time in relocating her lover to a new residence. If this situation initially bothered me, I now find it somewhat comical, almost like a cliché. Regarding my trip, I must admit that someone else is joining me. A new girl. Interestingly, the cause of my sleepless nights is not the pain of my spouse's infidelity, but the 14-hour time difference. For those still facing difficulties, I offer a simple piece of advice. Don't give up. Despite the challenges we encounter, it's crucial to maintain momentum and keep moving forward. After a lengthy process, I'm pleased to announce that my divorce is officially finalized. In summary, I made the tough choice to leave my ex-wife after she began an affair, signaling her desire to end our marriage. Unfortunately, the outcome regarding custody and alimony was not as favorable as I'd hoped, but I was prepared for the ideal outcome to be more of a wish than a reality. Still, I managed to negotiate with her regarding the alimony payment. To secure a better future for our teenage boys, I convinced her to allocate half of the alimony toward their college savings. Considering our children are now teens, her suggestion that they spend weekends with us seemed reasonable, as they are almost adults and can make their own choices. With only a few significant events remaining, the custody agreement now requires my ex-spouse to handle the children's school transportation. However, this situation allowed me to secure a travel position at my job, which enables me to work overtime for about 15 hours a week and cover food expenses. Fortunately, this overtime doesn't affect the alimony calculation in our jurisdiction. Additionally, I made adjustments to my work insurance policy, excluding her from the participants, resulting in additional savings for me. It's possible that the insurance she receives at work may surpass what she gets in alimony. Furthermore, I recently learned about some health issues she's facing, including breast cysts, which further complicate her situation. The fact that she's dealing with potential health problems following her affair with another man might be seen as a form of poetic justice. I apologize if my words seem harsh, but I believe in speaking honestly. In light of recent events, I've taken measures to update my life insurance plan so she can't benefit from it. The other day, I encountered her personally while providing financial assistance for our child's medical needs. Surprisingly, this encounter didn't affect me emotionally. I'm moving forward, trying to live a positive life free from negative influences. My advice to those just starting on this challenging path is not to lose hope. Remember that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and brighter days lie ahead. I must admit that in the initial stages, I acted disrespectfully, begging her to return and displaying a lack of confidence and composure. It even led to me taking temporary leave from work and facing other problems. However, I can confidently say that it's possible to survive. It may not be easy, but it's achievable. It seems like karma's wheels are beginning to turn. I've always believed that justice prevails, and people tend to face the consequences of their actions. I recently learned that my ex-wife was terminated from her job, which ironically was at the same place where she first met her lover. This seems fitting, given her history of damaging previous marriages and engaging in inappropriate relationships with colleagues. Considering her past actions, it's possible the circumstances were viewed differently. Yes, it's true. She had 2 affairs, and it turns out her partner was also married. Later, I found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer and is now undergoing treatment. Having lost her job, she's barely making ends meet. It also came to light that her older lover persuaded her to sell the house and disappeared with the money. While the children say she's in an emotional breakdown, I can't find sympathy for her. She chose this path for herself. While she slowly faces the consequences, I'm building a new relationship with a woman who values and loves me.